Let's go overseas now with breaking news from South Korea, where the country's president has made a shock declaration of martial law just a few hours ago, accusing the opposition of being pro-North Korean.
It's a move that has shocked the world. So let's go live to 9 correspondent Lauren Tomasi. Lauren, it's been a wild few hours in the capital, hasn't it?
Oh, it certainly has, Sylvia and DC. Good morning to you both. It has been just an extraordinary few hours in South Korea. The president there making this emergency declaration to impose martial law in an unscheduled late-night television address. He says that this move was necessary to protect the country from communist forces from North Korea. Look, immediately after this address, the South Korean police, along with military, were all swarming in on the country's parliament building. You can see there those military operations happening there, and they were blocking lawmakers from entering into that building. A number of protesters gathered down by the building as well. There are clashes unfolding amid that, stopping the people from entering into the building. But even so, there has been a vote in the South Korean parliament against this ruling to overturn it. There were 190 lawmakers to 0 voting in favour of getting rid of this martial law that had been imposed just hours earlier. And it has been such a fast-moving situation, but we haven't yet heard from the president of South Korea. Who we have heard from, though, is the Assembly chairman, who had this to say. It is a translated grab. Take a look.
The president should immediately lift the emergency martial law following the voting by the National Assembly. Now, the emergency martial law declaration is invalid. The people should rest easy. The National Assembly will defend democracy with the people.
Look, troops have begun withdrawing from the parliamentary building itself, but we haven't heard from the president of South Korea. So as to what happens next, we simply don't know. It has been more than 4 decades since martial law has been imposed. You can see there people cheering just after that vote from lawmakers was held. There have now been calls for the South Korean president to be arrested. So we now await for him to speak, to address the country once again here in the United States. The White House says it is very concerned. The president has now been briefed, guys.
Yeah, unrest and instability in South Korea is a big concern for the region. We will get some more analysis on that a little later. Lauren Tomasi, thanks for the update.
Back to that breaking news now from South Korea. Soldiers have stormed parliament and protesters have clashed with police in the capital of Seoul. It's a shocking thing this morning, and this has come up from the president, who declared an emergency martial law.
To discuss, we're joined by former Pentagon operative and White House advisor Tony Shaffer. Tony, thank you for your time on this. How surprised are you by the decision from President Yoon?
Very. I mean, this is chaos without any clear objective of how they're going to resolve this. The Parliament had voted by a majority, 190 out of the 300, to end the martial law, and it obviously didn't work. This is very troubling by the fact that South Korea, after 1987 becoming a true democracy, has been thriving. They have a great industry base. They have had Seoul grow greatly. So the idea here that they're reverting back to a totalitarian state is very frightening as we see this unfold.
Yeah, it's very frightening, considering that area, it's one of the great democracies in Southeast Asia, and
right.
a very important ally to America and other countries as well.
Absolutely.
So since the announcement, South Korean MPs have now voted to block the move. We are still waiting to hear from the president. So I guess we're just in a state of waiting around and wondering what's going to happen. What is going to happen?
Well, part of why they're doing this is supposedly the North Korean influence, David, and I don't really see it, and I don't think the president there has been able to actually define it in any way. So I'm hoping that saner minds will come to prevail on this and shut down the violence. I mean, this could become catastrophic for the people of South Korea.
Well, the US government has already issued a statement saying it is watching with grave concern. What would instability in South Korea mean for the region?
Well, as David said, this has become a city the country that is greatly successful in the entire economic base of the Pacific. Heck, I drive a Korean-made car, a Kona. So Hyundai and other manufacturers have become dominant in the Pacific region. I think you probably have good relationships with them as well in Australia. So to destabilize at a time when China's already destabilized could lead to a wider potential recession within the region, I believe.
All right. Well, we're definitely going to keep an eye on that this morning. But while we have it, we thought we'd just pivot to Donald Trump. The president-elect has vowed there will be hell to pay if Hamas has not released the Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza before his inauguration. So how do you expect Hamas to respond?
So I do believe they're going to get pressure from the Iranians, who have been their primary funders, to do something to resolve this quickly. I see this a lot like 1981. I was alive in 81. I voted for Reagan. And when Reagan came into office, the Iranians released the American hostages. I think something similar is going to transpire now. Before the 20th of January, Inauguration Day, I do see something resolving itself. I think the Iranians will act to encourage Hamas to release the hostages who are still alive. That's going to become another issue because I don't think we really know how many are still alive at this point, which is not a good thing to have a situation of. So,
Tony Schaefer, great to get your insights this morning. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Great.
Let's go to that other breaking news story this morning out of South Korea, where lawmakers have just overturned the president's shock declaration of martial law. Live to 9 correspondent Lauren Tomasi. Lauren, soldiers are leaving, but the chaos is not over yet.
There is so much uncertainty across South Korea this morning. Jane, good morning to you. And actually, in just the past 30 seconds or so, we are getting fresh reporting in saying that the South Korean president has agreed to lift this martial law ban. We will confirm that. But this comes hours after he made that emergency declaration to put it in place in a late night unscheduled television address, saying that the move was necessary to protect the country from communist forces from North Korea. Now, immediately after that address, we saw the military and South Korean police move into the country's National Assembly, their parliamentary building, and stopping lawmakers from entering into that building. We then saw a vote by those lawmakers to overturn the martial law amid a number of clashes with police. But it has now been a long wait to hear formally from the South Korean president. It has been such a fast-moving situation, and this is something that the country hasn't seen in more than 4 decades, a declaration of martial law. And by law, that vote by the parliament, the South Korean president must abide by that. So we will wait as it enters the early hours into South Korea there in the morning now for that formal address. But certainly here in the United States, the White House is watching this situation closely. The president has been briefed. South Korea is, of course, a very close ally of America, and it is also a very important partnership between Australia and South Korea, especially given the tensions within the Indo-Pacific region. So certainly the world is watching on for this unprecedented and extraordinary political move coming out of South Korea this morning.
Lauren, thank you.